So this isn't going to be like your typical review. This is going to be more of a video, not so much review like a review, although it is going to have elements of a review, but it's going to be more like, hey, go check out this series. I don't normally do this of like, hey, you should go check out this. That's usually in a review, but this is something that no one really talks about, and I'm surprised no one has, despite the amount of talent that's behind this. This is like something that's kind of like forgotten, and no one really talks about it or anything, and I'm like, this is prime for so much. Like, this has so much like prime stuff to use in like an animated series or a movie or movies or a television show. Yeah. And that, let me show you real quick, is Baltimore by Mike Mignola. So that name obviously sounds familiar because it's the creator of Hellboy. This is not connected to, however, to the Hellboy universe. This is its own continuity. Although, strangely, a lot of people do lump this in with Hellboy, even though it's not in the same universe. I got this and the second omnibus. There's yeah. So this is going to be more of a review because the reviews, there's so much story in here. I'm like, it's all this and the other one have all the collected stories, and these books are heavy as shit. I decided to just be like, hey, you know, this review, it's not so much a review as it is, hey, go check out this comic. It's really good. Yeah. Anyway, so let's talk about why you should go out and read Baltimore. So, what is Baltimore? Obviously a city, but like, what is Baltimore about? So, Baltimore is basically a story where World War I ended a lot differently, where no one really won. It was more like a plague happened, a mysterious plague happened, and from that plague, the war just was like, everyone go home, the plague just doesn't, it's so bad, it just ended the war, and out of it came vampires. Vampires and more monsters started to show up because of the effects of the Great War, and essentially, during the war, this man named Henry Baltimore wounded a vampire that was trying to eat him. He killed his whole family and his wife, and it's basically following Henry as he searches for this one vampire named Haggis. And Haggis, it's very much and you may be thinking, oh, well, he's a very virtuous guy. Not really. Baltimore is more of, like, just obsessed with finding Haggis. But along the way, he does encounter other monsters and deal with other problems, but at the end of the day, it's like, I don't give a shit about your problem, I'm trying to find this one vampire. He's vastly different from Hellboy, who does care about, his, other people. He does care about, the well-being of others. But here, it's more along the lines of, I'm doing this as a means to an end to find Haggis. Now, they even kind of represent his almost like insane quest for Haggis with Baltimore carries a harpoon, not unlike Ahab. And much like Ahab, he does have a peg leg that he lost in the war. And essentially, Baltimore is this dark, post-Victorian era horror show following Baltimore as he continues his quest for Haggis. And along the way, he is encountering monsters, vampires, werewolves, demons. And it's very much, the best way I could describe this is a lot like Castlevania meets Stephen King's The Stand. Not only do you have to deal with all these monsters coming out, but you also have to deal with this plague, this unknown plague that is running rampant throughout. That's running rampant throughout all of Europe and could be The other thing is that Baltimore is not so much like a special agent who's sent out in the world to fight monsters. No, he's just he is just kind of like the lone gunman, kind of like Clint Eastwood's character from The Good and the Bad and the Ugly, where he just wanders into a city, and in his quest to find Hygus, he is encountering all of this and moving on. It's actually, now that I think about it, it's a kind of lot like Samurai Jack in a way. Only if you've made Samurai Jack, only if you made Jack into an angry, one-legged, psychotic British man. There's also a lot of neat stuff that differentiate. This is what I like most about Mike Mignola. Even though a lot of his major critics say, "Oh, he's just doing the same story over again," not necessarily. All of his monsters that you see throughout his stories, even if they're not connected to Hellboy, are vastly different from one another. I think like Mignola was like, when it was like, okay, if I'm writing about monsters, I need to differentiate the two so everyone doesn't think either A, I'm a talentless hack, or B, it's all connected to one universe, which obviously it's not. Here, the vampires in this universe have like souls that are represented not by bats but by birds that escape their mouth through the mouth. So yeah, vampires still have souls, but it's vastly different and more corrupted. There's also like other dark entities that are vastly different from the demonic entities that you encounter, that you see throughout Hellboy. It's also shown that the other monsters you see are, while they are like similar in nature and similar in design, these creatures do have different rules than the creatures you see in Hellboy. Like I said, it does feel like Mignola was like, okay, if I'm going to be writing about monsters and all that and vampires, I need to like have some differentiation between all of my characters. And again, Baltimore is not like Hellboy. It's very much more like, it is more of a road trip. It is more of like a guy going through a post-apocalyptic world that's going into the apocalypse. Like, if you thought it was bad now with a plague and vampires, it's two different things, by the way. The plague and the vampires just happen simultaneously. It's not like the plague was... like, the plague the plague was caused by the vampires. Even the vampires are like, yeah, we didn't do this, we just kind of jumped on it. So, but the plague is there for a reason, and you find out throughout this. So, yeah. Now, this series, there are separate trades, but I would say check out the omnibuses. But the omnibuses are so expensive. Actually, believe it or not, for an omnibus, this is actually kind of inexpensive. It's $34.99. I know that sounds like a lot, but comparatively speaking to like the Marvel omnibuses, which are over $100, like there are some trades out there that are like 6-issue trades, and they're cheaper, and they're roughly this price. Here, this comic collects, and this one all collect like everything, and that's like 10, 11, 12 stories in one volume. And I got both for for under $50 off of Amazon. So yeah, if you love like Mike Mignola work and you want to check out like something, if you enjoy stuff like The Stand or Blade or Fallout, this is right up your alley. Baltimore is right up your alley, and it's violent, it's dark, it's everything you love about Mike Mignola work, and everything that is great about like fun supernatural period piece horror. So this is yeah, like I said, if you enjoy his work in Hellboy, you're gonna like this. And it's actually like gotten me to read more Hellboy comics, although I've always enjoyed Hellboy comics, just to collect more of the trades, as well as check out the other stuff. The other thing on my list is actually in Hellboy continuity, and the next thing I think I'm going to be getting is a omnibus of Sir Edward Grey, which is a character from the Hellboy universe. So I'm actually I'm thinking that's after this I'm going to be checking out the Sir Edward Grey omnibus as well. Anyway, so yeah, really recommend this. I totally 100% check it if you really want to look for something cool. Also, just on a personal note, I kind of imagine if this was to be animated, my pick for do the voice of Henry Baltimore would be Graham McTavish, who most of you guys would know best as the voice of Dracula in Castlevania. I don't know, like his voice and his, like how Baltimore speaks in this comic. It's very much like how phonetic it is. It's very much like something I can imagine McTavish saying. Anyway, so yeah, there you go, guys. That is my recommendation. And always, that's pretty much what I have to say. As always, if you haven't already, go check out my link below to my Patreon. Check out some exclusive videos, such as my review for the first episode of Chucky. Other than that, I'm Mr. Multiverse. I'll see you next time in the Multiverse.